We are streaming live on YouTube now.
Theoretically. It's not showing up on my other screen. So let me see if we're there now. Yes, we are. Okay, thanks for your patience. Means we'll have a shorter review now. So let's just go through here and just kind of remind ourselves. Anybody can please speak up so I'm not monopolizing. And we'll just review the three root texts are Ornament of Mahayana Discourse and Distinguishing the Middle from the Extreme by Maitreya Buddha, and Compendium of Knowledge, Abhidharma by Asanga. Okay. I'm going to hide it. Can anybody say what the 5 attributes are for a place that's appropriate for practicing calm abiding? No takers? Okay.
So maybe a quiet place.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. So that is, yeah, one of the attributes is a place without a lot of distractions. What about the people around you at the place? Anyone?
They have to be those who practice the same as you do, that, you know, they're friends that are there for the same purpose.
Okay.
Like that.
So what about getting supplies?
Easy access.
Yes. Yes. Okay, let's see. I don't even have these memorized, so let's see what we missed. Easy access. Oh, no wild beasts, predators, enemies. That mattered in India in the days.
Oh yeah.
A place that's healthy, good companionship, like you mentioned, Karen, and quiet. The other Karen. Okay, so what do we know about choosing an object of meditation? Who's got any thoughts about that?
It would be a holy object if you're Buddhist, but if not, any object. That if you're just looking for calm, peaceful mind in this life, any object.
Okay. Anyone else? What else do we know about choosing our object for meditation?
Don't change it.
Don't change it, right? Right. And if it's a complex object, how do we approach that? Do we focus on little pieces? Do we focus on the whole thing?
I'm actually not clear about that, because Geshe said at one point, even if you just see the ear, focus on, you know, whatever you can grab onto, but I think you're supposed to see the whole thing with some weight in front of you. Like it would be something that you could visualize as weighted.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my sense is kind of that it's meant to be, we're meant to, that Geshe says, you know, if we can't manage the whole thing, then it's okay to focus on little bits, but the goal is to see the whole thing at one time, I think.
Yeah, okay.
If I'm not sadly mistaken. Okay, so let's see what we have here. The breath, the nature of the mind, cheesecake. Okay, so yeah, we don't change it like you mentioned, Neely, but if the goal is to achieve calm abiding, then we want to stay with just one.
So with the mind, that's not a whole, my mind's not a holy object. I guess if you're meditating on the nature of the mind, but is that kind of like the breath, or is that considered a good thing for Lama Tsongkhapa practice?
I can't answer that. I'm just guessing that, when I'm reading this paragraph, I'm just seeing that there are a lot of different options, but that, the best option is a holy object, and then the best, if you're choosing a holy object, is not to change it.
Okay.
But please, anybody else pipe up if you have other understandings. Okay.
Well, I thought, you start off with the breath. So that's sort of a neutral, object. And that's how you start. And then as you progress, I would think you would go to a holy object. And
That
the
makes
same with the
sense.
mind, right? The mind is a neutral object.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's move on. The 5 faults and the 8 antidotes for developing calm abiding.
So drowsy or excited mind.
Laziness.
Yeah.
Ah,
Anybody know the antidotes for laziness?
realize the benefit. So you're motivated.
Yeah, get yourself motivated.
Interest and enthusiasm.
Yeah. I think there are more. Faith in the benefits, interest, enthusiasm. Oh, pliancy, which we don't have when we're beginning. We can just anticipate the pliancy. Okay. Other faults
Forgetting the instructions,
and the antidote?
mindfulness,
Good. Anyone else can name a fault?
Losing the object. I believe.
Losing the object. I think that's the same as forgetting the instructions.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, forgetting the instructions is kind of a confusing term for losing the object. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sinking in incitement. The antidote is introspection. And then these two are kind of obvious, non-application of the antidote. The antidote is application, applying it, and over-application is equanimity.
Yeah.
Okay, Chukula's here. Yay.
Bonnie, you did great.
Hello, Chukila. So I have just, we've just sort of been going through, and we haven't made it very far because I had trouble getting us going on YouTube. And I can just explain to everybody again, let me take this down, that we are doing a different kind of review tonight because Geshe Gelek is not feeling well. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
will be leading us through more review. So Tequila, I turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for leading the review, Donna. Did anyone have any questions about anything that came up so far?
We didn't get very far. We sort of went through some of the basics before we even got to the different stages. We were just looking at the faults and the antidotes and those kinds, and some really basic things.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's excellent.
May I ask a question? I'm kind of
Sure.
new, but so when you're trying to achieve the first stage and you're focused on the object, and then you're counting your breaths to try to get to 21, is the counting one thing and the breath another thing? Are there actually two objects then that you're focused on, or how does that work?
So I should start by saying that I don't know anything more than you all in terms of, I haven't had like other classes in this. So I hope that tonight we can, I mean, I'll be the facilitator of it, but if anybody has ideas about things, please everybody jump in. So does anybody have any thought on that they would want to answer, Karen?
I don't know that this is definitive, but I think that the counting is kind of like that fish under the water. The object is the breath, but the counting is that part of the mind that's watching what you're doing. But that's pure speculation on my part.
So Donna, are you saying that that would be sort of like the introspection?
Yeah.
Anybody else have thoughts on that?
I was going to say something similar, but I don't know if this is right either, but the object is the breath and the counting is just to help you stay focused on the breath so you don't lose the breath. So sometimes they'll say, instead of counting, you can pay attention to the sensation of the breath, anything that keeps you focused there. But that's kind of two objects then, I guess.
I agree with Karen in that when I'm just focused on my breath, I could be wandering my mind for quite a while before I realize that I'm wandering. But when I'm counting, I recognize sooner that I've lost count. And so, and I recognize sooner that my mind has wandered. So I think it feels like an additional tool to help focus.
Yeah, I really appreciate all of those contributions, as Geshe would say. And I don't know the answer to it either, but I think the logic that you all have just said completely matches with what I was thinking, because I remember a while back, Geshe had said that we could try doing a meditation where we actually count how many times we come back to the object, like that when we're trying to focus on an object and then we lose it. And then we count, like actually use our mala to count how many times we come back. And he was saying that wasn't in any of the texts, it was just an idea he thought of as a tool to help us. And when I actually tried that myself, what I found was it really heightened the introspection, because instead of saying, I'm focusing on the object, I'm focusing on the object, I'm focusing on the object, which is what I've been doing before, I was now saying, am I focused on the object? And it made me stay on the object better, right? And so that's what you all are saying, counting the breaths helps you do, right? And so just applying my logic, that definitely makes sense, but I haven't read that anywhere or heard that from anybody. So Karen did, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a question. We were reviewing the signs of completion of the different stages. The 21 breaths without distraction for stage 1. And I think he said saying a complete mala without distraction in stage 2.
Yeah.
And then I don't have what stage 3 sign of completion is. I have stage 4 is staying on the object for several hours, but I don't know stage 3.
Yeah, Geshe actually said that none was mentioned for that. So.
Okay. Oh, okay. I feel better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can somebody, I'm still focusing on the breath and counting the breath, and I've been doing that for a while now. Can somebody tell me what happens or what your experience is once you shift from the breath to focusing? I mean, I would do Shakyamuni Buddha if I had an object. But what sort of is that process? What's happening, or what do you experience when you've made that shift? Anybody? Yeah.
So I don't want to call anybody out. I'll just say that I know one of you out there has great experience with that. If you would be willing to share, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, because I'm looking for some motivation. I think it's probably a good idea to move to an image, an object, a holy object, but I haven't made the I haven't made the shift yet. So I was just looking for.
So
I,
since I don't have any takers on that, oh, David, were you going to say something?
well, the shift from following your breath to an object, in my experience, has just been when you're focusing on an object, you tend to, it seems like you know that you're focused on that object, at least, and you notice when you kind of waver. Just like with your breathing. With the breathing, you tend to catch yourself when you kind of wandered off a little bit further. And I find that when I'm focusing on an object, I can notice the movements are a little more subtle. You can kind of see yourself going like this a little bit. I don't know if anybody else has that same experience or not. But, where the breath is more of a moving target that you're kind of riding on. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, David, about the actual experience of using the breath as an object versus, Shakyamuni Buddha or something like that, a holy image as an object. Mary, were you asking about the actual process of being able to change from the breath to a holy object?
Yeah, maybe so. I just haven't gone there yet, and I'm. So what do? Do I just get a picture and have it in front of me, and then close my eyes and keep focused on that? Is that what I do, or?
I mean, that's the general instruction. Yeah, you have a picture there to give you, the guideline. And then, like you said, you just close your eyes and you try to be able to see the details of that, and in the beginning to have the expectations that are laid out that, it's just fleeting, the amount of time that you can hold that image, and that you spend way more time off of it than on it. And that it's very rare in the beginning for it to be clear and stable and all those things, and just not to get frustrated with that and just recognize that's part of the process,
And still be cognizant of your breath, because I've really been enjoying the breath, shifting. And so you still are conscious that you're breathing, but your focus is on the object or not.
So the object is no longer the breath. It's now the holy object. So if you're focused on your breath, that's distracting you from the holy object. Now, Kim had asked a question somewhat along those lines a couple of weeks ago, and Geshe had said, well, of course you're gonna, know you're breathing because you're breathing. But I don't know, Kim, if you want to say more about what his reply to your question was.
Well, I was just going to comment that I think, yeah, I mean, he basically said, look, you're gonna keep breathing. I mean, if you're gonna be alive, you're gonna keep breathing, So, but for me, I think part of it is just having the confidence that I can start with an object, and that it's kind of jumping in, it's jumping into the deep end of the pool, that I don't know how to do this at all. I've gotten some support here, but I really don't know how to do it, but okay, that's okay. I'm going to start anyway. I mean, for me, I think it was just a matter of confidence and saying, I'm going to give it a try.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Elise.
I was going to say that my experience is like Mary's. I'm not even beyond the breathing and the counting the breaths. I'm still really working on that. And when I go to trying to picture something in my mind, to visualize the holy object, I feel like that's using a whole different skill, a whole different set of brain cells. So I'm still working on the breathing and the counting to just kind of quiet all the chatter in my mind. It's more audio in my mind that I'm trying to quiet with the breathing and the counting. And then I have to switch to the visual, you know, and I can't switch to visual until the audio is quieted down. So it's like a whole different skill set, a whole different part of the brain.
I think that's a good point, Elise. And I think that, you know, Geshe has said that, like when we're doing the awareness of awareness meditation that hopefully we'll do just for a short practice later on tonight, you know, to start, if your mind is not already positive or neutral, to start with 9-round breathing. And what I often do, because my mind is rarely neutral, is I start with 9-round breathing, and I'll do some counting my breaths as well. You know, I mean, of course, for 9-round, you're counting 3 rounds of 3. So there's some counting there, but I might do 21, you know, breathing before to help quiet things down. So it doesn't have to be an either or, you know, throughout your session, depending on how long you're going to spend, you know. So, yeah, Neely.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
Geshe,
also what I do, is I always begin with the 9-round breathing and then count 21 breaths. And I think what that does, it adds a consistency, you know, so you're always starting the same way, and then you can move on to the object, or if you want to move on to analytical, but you always start the same to get your mind in the same spot. I find
Yeah.
that helpful.
That's great, Peter. Thanks.
Could I add that I sometimes find that I need to do several rounds of 21 to really settle my mind. Instead of just saying, well, I'll do 21 and then I can dive in. I find there's a real difference in day to day. Sometimes it's really nice when 21 breaths does achieve a calming, but other times it doesn't.
Yeah, that's a great point, Patrick. I know for me, some days I can't get to 7, right? And I have to keep starting over. And other days, 21's no problem, you know? And so on the days when I need to count to 7 is probably when I need to do even more rounds, right? So yeah, Neely, sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to say, you know, the breath helps me, like Elise was saying, kind of get neutral and get the monkey chatter out of my head. And then I think Geshe-la's advice about thinking about something positive, like, you know, like the 4 measurables. Sometimes I'll say that, you know, I'll set the intention, then I'll say the 4 measurables just to get my mind moving from neutral to positive. And that seems to help kind of ground me. You know how he says, think of something that'll direct your mind towards bodhicitta. That seems to, once I get quiet, that seems to like ground me. So I don't know if anyone else has had that experience.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, because Geshe has said that really, you know, if we aren't thinking about loving kindness and compassion and bodhicitta beforehand, we aren't really going to be successful in the long run. So that's really a very good point too. So before we go any deeper, oh, sorry, David, go ahead. Your comment, and then I'd like to do our opening prayers. So go ahead, David.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I had a question. Did Geshe, I missed some of the very first one. Did he say eyes open or closed?
Has Geshe commented on that? I know the question was about whether your eyes are open or closed. I think generally the instruction is slightly open, right? But I don't know, does anybody remember if Geshe has actually said that?
I've read both, and I find it's easier to stay on the object if my eyes are open.
If your eyes are open, is that what you said, David? Yeah, I've heard others say that as well. So,
Because I think, like Elisa, you spend a lot. It seems like you spend a lot of energy trying to recreate the image in my head.
David, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'm having a really hard time hearing you.
I'm sorry. You try to recreate the image in your head. My headphones not working for that. So. Maybe that's better. Does that help? No.
Not really, but that's okay. I think we got the gist of it, that you can recreate the image better in your head if your eyes are a little bit open. Is that what you said?
You spend a lot of energy trying to recreate the image in your head with your eyes closed.
Okay. Okay. So Lamala, do you have anything to add to this discussion before we start the opening prayers? You're still muted.
I'm sorry, I had to answer a call, so I didn't hear the entire question, but my sense is that, you know, of course, if you're having, your mind isn't settled, if it's negative, then you need to do this counting breaths or 9-round breathing, because as Geshe said, in order to turn your mind from, you know, it's negative, positive. It's hard to turn your mind to virtue. It's on a negative mind. It's like trying to raise the dead, is what he said. So, but if your mind is already positive or neutral, you don't have to do the 9-round breathing. I mean, it's wonderful to do as a practice, but then that's over applying the antidote, is what I read someplace. And Geshe said, you don't have to do that. You can go right into your meditation practice and do, you know, and then put your mind on the chosen meditation object.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good reminder. Yeah.
Okay, so should I start?
Sure, thanks.
Okay, let's see. So we're gonna do the regular Wednesday night prayers?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. So the short mandala offering. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. Imagine this as a Buddha field and offering. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. So I guess we can skip that one because it's, so let's do the refuge and bodhicitta teaching prayer 3 times. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings.
Thanks very much. So Lamala and I are going to be sort of tag teaming the facilitation tonight. So she's going to lead a couple of different meditations as we go through things. We can just rejoice that we've come together to follow the advice of Geshe Gelek, and may we always perfectly follow the advice of our teachers. And may this review and our listening to Geshe's teachings purify all of our negativities and build up our stores of merit and wisdom so we can speed our way to enlightenment for the benefit of every single living being. So just a little encouragement reminder from Geshe's teaching last week. He said that all the questions had been passed, 100% passed. And he said he was very pleased. So the fact that we're really reviewing and trying to understand this to be able to apply it, I know is clearly making him happy. So we can really rejoice that we're doing that. So, and you know, rejoicing is such a great way to gain lots of merit with a little effort. So rejoicing is always good. So, so last week, Geshe taught us, reminded us of the meditation, that forceful method for cheering up your mind, mixing your mind with your mind and energy with space. And so Lamala was going to kindly lead us in just a short practice of that so that we can try it on if we haven't already.
Okay, so get into your meditation posture. Okay. Keeping your back straight. This is the most important. Try to relax the tension in your body. And you can keep your mind, your eyes slightly unfocused, lightly closed in front of you. Because this is the forceful method on overcoming the subtle sinking mind, we're going to exhale and inhale. Let me tell you the whole thing so you have an idea of this. We're going to exhale and inhale several times. Then on the last inhale, imagine an oval-shaped, small white energy of light at the level 4 fingers below your navel. And think that this is your mind. And then you hold your breath. You don't exhale, you hold that inhale. And then you exhale and say the syllable peh, strongly and loudly. Not like, yeah, like you're throwing a little marble across the floor, but peh, like you're shooting a rocket into space, like that. So through the power of peh, this white energy that is your mind shoots up through the crown of your head and becomes one with space. It's like lying down in the grass at a park and looking up at the clear blue sky. Try to mix your mind with the sky. Okay, so let's count. Let's do 9 exhalations and inhalations, okay? Because we were talking about 9-round breathing. Okay, so let's exhale. And if your mind is very negative, exhale forcefully. Okay. Inhale, 1. Inhale, 2. Inhale, 3. Inhale, 4. Inhale, 5. Inhale, 6. Inhale, 7. Inhale, 8. Inhale, 9. Imagine that small white energy of light below the navel. Hold your breath. It's coming up higher and higher. Peh! Thank you, Chikula.
Thank you, Lamala, for leading us. So how'd that go for everybody? Good? Okay. Okay, so did we cover questions? Were there any more questions? Okay, well, just shout them out if they come up along the way. So I thought I might start by reviewing the difference between the stages that we've covered. This is something that Geshe has talked about some from Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. And I found I have two different translations of Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. There's the one that we're all familiar with that we mostly use by Michael Richards is the translator of that one. But also Sermon Cancer Lotsang Tarchin did a translation, and he's a former abbot of Sarah May Monastery, and he came to the US some time ago and learned English. And so he did a translation of it. And sometimes I just find different translations helpful. So I was just going to read the couple of paragraphs that cover what Geshe has been talking about in terms of the difference between the levels. So it says, on the first level, you develop a feeling that stems from greater awareness of your discursive thoughts. On the second level, you gain the feeling that your discursive thoughts sometimes take a break or take a rest. On the third level, you gain the feeling that your discursive thoughts are becoming tired. Thus, the difference between the first and second levels of mental stability is the length of time that your mind remains fixed on the meditation object. And the difference between the second and third levels is the length of time that you remain distracted. So they're saying between 1 and 2 is how long you can stay on the object, and between 2 and 3 is how long you're distracted, right? Because you're becoming less and less distracted. Okay, then it says the difference between the fourth and fifth level is that, the difference between the fourth and fifth levels is the coarse languor, which we're saying is gross sinking, occurs on the fourth, but not on the fifth. So there's gross sinking on the fourth level, but not on the fifth. And the difference between the fifth and sixth levels is that you must watch carefully for subtle languor sinking, subtle sinking on the fifth, but not on the sixth. And then it says, in addition, subtle excitement arises less frequently on the sixth than it does on the fifth. So I thought that was a pretty clear summary of those things that we've been talking about. Does that make sense?
Chikula,
Yeah,
that was really excellent. Could you say it again very slowly?
sure.
Thank you.
On the first level, you develop a feeling that stems from greater awareness of your discursive thoughts. On the second level, you gain the feeling that your discursive thoughts sometimes take a rest. On the third level, you gain the feeling that your discursive thoughts are becoming tired. And Geshe used the word exhausted there. Thus, the difference between the first and second levels of mental stability is the length of time that your mind remains fixed on the meditation object. And the difference between the second and third levels is the length of time that you remain distracted. The difference between the fourth and fifth levels is that gross sinking occurs on the fourth, but not on the fifth. And the difference between the fifth and the sixth is that you must watch carefully for subtle sinking on the fifth, but not on the sixth. In addition, subtle excitement arises less frequently on the sixth than it does on the fifth.
I have a question. Hello.
Hello, Adriana.
Hi. And I don't know if anybody knows, but I was wondering if anybody has or has had the feeling or what does, how does it feel gross sinking? Yeah, how can you describe that? Because I might be thinking that gross sinking is something else that it is actually not.
Does anybody want to try that one?
Isn't gross sinking when you're on the object, but it's just not clear? Is that gross sinking? No. Yeah.
Yeah, where you have some stability, but you don't have clarity. Yeah. So that kind of describes about as good as I can get right now, right? It's where like, it's like, you know, I'm trying to visualize the object, but it's never as clear as the picture yet for me, you know? So if I can stay on it for any length of time and get some stability, that's wonderful, you know, but it's still gross sinking if I don't have it, you know, clear.
And the object can be, that's my understanding, the object of meditation can be your breathing. And that's why, because for me, breathing is very organic compared to focusing on a Buddha, you know, or a mantra. It just feels different. And the question is related to, because that's mostly how I meditate. I meditate focus on the breathing. So, I mean, gross thinking in terms of, you know, checking with your, or following your breath, then you are, I mean, is you're following your breath and you're not seeing any thoughts or hearing any thoughts, you know, there's, or maybe a little bit here and there. But then, I mean, I was wondering, like, how does that feel? I'm just really curious about the whole, maybe I would have to, you know, ask Geshe or someone, you know, that has reached the 4th level. Is that the 4th level or 5th? That's 4th.
Well, I mean, we're all experiencing, if we're starting at the beginning, like almost all of us are, then we're all just swinging wildly back and forth between gross sinking, gross excitement, gross sinking, gross excitement, you know.
So, but gross sinking does that mean like you get this feeling of like sleepiness, of like going down, or is it like a mental process?
Anybody want to comment?
Well, to me, I can, like I use Shakyamuni Buddha in the Gampa, and I can see the object, but I can't see the whole object. You know, I can only focus on the head or, you know, the top part of it. So I think that, you know, and I have to focus just to keep that part in mind, right? So that, to me, I think that's gross sinking mind. But
Chukida?
Yeah, Hemant?
This, to me, it seems like the object is hazy when it's gross sinking mind, or it's less intense. In other words, the clarity is less. That's what I call in my mind, that's what I call gross sinking.
So subtle sinking is when the intensity goes down, right?
Right.
And when the clarity goes down, that's the gross sinking.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to the breath, Adriana, you know, that's not what I'm using as my object. So I can't say from experience. So maybe someone who has used the breath could say, but it seems to me, just trying to apply that same notion, you know, that what does it mean to have clarity of breath? Well, I think that means like really being very present with it, right? And so I'm just wondering if that could be like, if you're not really present with it, then that's starting to sink, you know?
Okay, okay. Because I mean, it seems to me that being really really in touch with the breath, it even has levels, like
Sure.
at the beginning is like so different than, I don't know, after some period of like, consistent meditation, then it's like more and more in the breath, and to the point where you feel, like circulation. And I mean, so is that sinking, or am I still in the breath? That's what I'm wondering. Am I imagining this, or I'm just, wondering. Yeah. Okay. But
Yeah, I understand your question, but I don't have an answer for you.
okay. Okay. Thank you. Sorry for all the debate. I was just trying to.
No, I mean, this is good. This is how we figure it out, because, I think the instruction is fantastic. And then we need to go try it for a while. And then we come back with sort of different kind of questions, and more pointed or more subtle, or, informed
Yeah.
questions, and then we go and try it a while, and then we come back with more questions. I mean, that's all the process, I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, so just as a quick summary of sort of the feel of these levels, I would say that, 1 and 2 are, you're wandering off of the object more than you're not. And in the 3rd level, you're more on the object than you're off of it. And then the 4th, you never lose the object. There's no more gross excitement. And in the 5th, you're turned more inward. And so subtle sinking mind is your greatest challenge there. So that's just kind of the way I would give an overview of the stages. So, yeah, Neely.
This is a little off topic. I hope that's okay. I was reading my notes, and I have from last class in my notes. It says, what key realization roots out all delusions from our mind? And I don't know if I wrote the right answer. I put Vipassana.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really sure what that means. I was hoping someone could explain it to me.
So does anybody want to say? So
selflessness.
I'm sorry.
Selflessness.
Yeah. So selflessness is certainly a part of it. But does anybody know what the English translation of Vipassana is?
It's insight meditation, isn't it?
Right. So special insight, right? And so does anybody know how calm abiding relates to special insight?
Well, I think Geshe said that you need calm abiding so that your thoughts and your mind are, it's quiet, so then you can meditate on special insight, emptiness, or bodhicitta, or whatever you're trying to analyze.
Is that where the samadhi comes in?
Yeah. So what's the English translation of samadhi?
I don't know.
So that's single pointed concentration. Yeah. So calm abiding, that's shamatha is the Sanskrit, since we're going through that right now. So calm abiding gets conjoined, that's the term they usually use, with special insight. And with that, then we can realize emptiness, right? And so the idea of what's going to root out, how did you phrase it, Neely? Root out all the delusions or something?
I think he said, what key realization roots out all delusions from our mind?
Right. So when we realize emptiness, and then tie in with Adriana, wasn't it you that said selflessness? Like when we get that the way we're perceiving the I isn't correct, right? That's the root of our problems, is perceiving the I incorrectly. So when we need calm abiding to help us achieve this special insight, this vipassana, and then we actually see things as they are, and then we root out the delusions, right? Did I say that correctly? Anybody want to
Yeah,
add to what I said?
I was just looking at those notes, and I'm so glad you asked about that because I was a little lost. I do remember him saying that the calm abiding is really concentration, very good for your mind, but it's temporary. But the Vipassana, I guess that's with the increased concentration, you're able to analyze precisely, and that's what's going to root out the delusions of your mind, and it's permanent. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could someone explain it to me a little slower? So is it the samadhi plus the vipassana together will root out the disturbing thoughts? And so the samadhi is, what was that English definition? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So shamatha is calm abiding. Samadhi is single pointed concentration. And vipassana is special insight. And so why don't we do all this in English to make it easier for folks?
And then what is
Okay.
shunyata?
That's emptiness.
Okay.
So, Chukila, is it fair to say that calm abiding is basically a highly skilled ability to concentrate?
I think that's a fair way to say it. I mean, it's a single pointed concentration.
It's not about gaining insight. It's not. That's not what it's about. What it's about is becoming highly skilled at single pointed concentration.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the precursor to special insight.
Yeah, you won't get to special insight unless you have the ability to get to the last stage of calm abiding.
Right.
Okay.
But calm abiding itself does create, whatever the right word is, this calm and peaceful mind. Like there is there is that benefit, even if you don't conjoin it with the special insight.
Yeah.
But so I actually was just pulling up, I actually transcribed that paragraph so I can read to you what Geshe said. He said, what kind of realizations root out all the delusions from our mind stream or from our life? That is the key question, Vipassana. Vipassana will eradicate the delusions, special wisdom produced by calm abiding or samadhi. Because concentration is developed so much because of that, the ability to analyze is very precise because the power of concentration allows you to analyze very precisely whatever object you meditate on. If you're meditating on shunyata, emptiness, then the realization of shunyata, it will root out all the delusions from our mind stream forever, for good. That is the primary reason why we're studying this samadhi meditation. If that is the case, concentration is good for the mind. It will make your mind calm and peaceful. That's the temporary benefit. The ultimate benefit is it will root out all the delusions from our mind streams. Then we can enjoy an everlasting vacation, never going back.
Would you mind putting that on the website in the notes if you haven't already? That would really be helpful, I think.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
And can I ask, where are the notes, Chukila?
If you go into the calendar and go, on Wednesday, there's that 15-minute pregame. Click on that. And on that page, there's a link to the PDF of the notes.
Thank you.
I didn't update it this week because I didn't make very many changes since Geshe didn't start stage 5 yet. But I will try. Let's see. I need to leave myself a note here to make sure I do what you've asked, Neely.
Chukila,
Yep.
I'm really beating this bush dead, but these terms are really difficult for me. And is shamatha the first in a series of progression? You go from shamatha, the calm abiding, to samadhi, the single pointed concentration, then on to vipassana. Is that a progression, or the two of them happen at the same time?
So shamatha is the same as calm abiding. That's just the
Right,
Sanskrit word for calm abiding.
right.
And so calm abiding is a form of single pointed meditation.
Okay, so
So it's not
shamatha,
a progression as I understand it. It's like you could have a single pointed concentration. Like Venerable Robina often says, you know, a thief needs mindfulness, right? The mindfulness itself isn't something positive or negative, right? You have to be very mindful to be a good thief, right? So you can have single pointed concentration that isn't directed towards, you know, conjoining with special insight and developing a realization of emptiness, right?
right. So shamatha and samadhi kind of go together.
That's the way I
And-
understand it. Does somebody else have a different way of looking at it?
And then that's a requirement before you can go into Vipassana, right?
Yeah, and so to, well, yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything to add? Okay. So this is great. These questions I think are helpful so that we're talking about the things that we're really wondering about. Okay, so did you all review, Donna, choosing an object of meditation?
Yes, we did talk about that.
Okay. And did you do the 5 faults
Yes.
and the 8 antidotes?
Yeah, we were sort of going through those when you came. So.
All right, well, why don't we leave those, and unless people really want to talk about those, we'll just go on. Did you talk about the 3 types of laziness?
No.
I'm not sure if I want to open this can of worms, but I guess I've started now. So, okay, so the way that it's described in the text, and I know we can certainly talk about the English term having other ways of looking at it, but when we're looking at it from the Lamrim point of view, there's 3 types of laziness. One is something that we certainly don't think of as laziness, which is sort of discouragement or self-contempt, it's sometimes said. And then there's the laziness of attachment to sort of mundane things like busyness, right? And we certainly don't usually think busyness is laziness. And then the third one is a little closer to how we usually talk about laziness, which is the laziness of procrastination. And Geshe has also called that just sluggishness of the body and mind. So Geshe specifically mentioned that he wanted us to review those. So I just wanted to make sure you all had heard those. So
I have a question.
yes, Lama.
Which stages are affected by laziness? Because we don't talk about it. We talk about thinking and excited mind and so forth. And even though laziness is an obstacle, at what point does it stop? Does it stop on the, is it only in the first 3 stages, or is it,
So Geshe hasn't talked about this as far as I know, because I've kind of been listening out for it. But what I've read is that it's the first 3 stages. I don't know, has anyone read anything other than that?
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that would be a really good question for us to ask Geshe. So if you're interested, Lamala, you could bring that up the next time Geshe is here. Okay, so let's just do a quick reminder so that we can really be able to just rattle this off. What is the definition, whoever wants to take this, of gross sinking mind?
You see an object, but it's very unclear, very fuzzy.
Yeah, and so it's steady, but it's unclear. Okay, and then what is the definition for subtle sinking mind?
It's steady and clear. You have no power.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, and how about gross excited mind?
lose the object by thinking about something else.
Perfect. And subtle, subtle excited mind.
You don't lose the object.
Something else.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else, yeah.
Right. Yep, your mind's divided, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, and what has Geshe said is the cause of sinking mind?
Lethargy in the body from eating heavy foods or something like that, or
Yeah, sluggishness. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because sometimes, I can't remember if Geshe uses lethargy. There's a very specific term, lethargy, and that can mean something. So anyway, it's always so tricky to know how people have translated these words from Tibetan, but sluggishness, which is caused by food, portion size, timing, type, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And what is the cause of excited mind?
Gathering an attractive object.
Right. Yep. Wandering due to attachment. Yeah, exactly. So maybe given the time, Lamala, do you think is this a good time to do the awareness of awareness meditation?
Sure.
Fantastic.
Okay. All right. So first, check your mental state. Is it positive, negative, neutral? And if it is negative, you can take 9 deep breaths slowly, or do the 9-round breathing meditation, as Peter suggested, because it settles your mind. Check your sitting posture. Keep your back straight. Relax any tension in your body. And as you do this meditation, have no expectations, no concerns. Don't ruminate about the past or worry about the future. This is just neuronal gossip, namtak. Just be in the present moment, right here, right now. Don't analyze, don't judge. Now focus on your mind, which is like clear space. This is your conventional mind. It has no shape or color. It's clear and knowing. Just be aware of awareness. Just pause there without distraction. If a thought arises, whether good or bad, positive or negative, you can do one of 2 things. One thing to do is to simply recognize the thought and do nothing. Don't analyze it or judge it, give it any weight. And eventually it will disappear. The other method is to look at each thought closely. being constantly mindful, like a skilled swordsman who stops all arrows shot toward your body by a skilled archer.
Thank you, Amala. So I was thinking, if I was thinking that we could go through stage by stage if people are still game for a little more review. Is that okay? So let's start out with just reviewing what are we've learned the first 5 stages, so that's all we're going to talk about tonight. What are the names of the first 5 stages? Anybody want to take that one on? And I'm having trouble with my view, so I can't see everyone, so just speak up because I won't see a raised hand for some reason.
So I think the first one is inner placement. Can get that one at least.
Excellent, yeah.
Number 2 is continual placement.
Yes.
Number 3 is patch-like placement.
Yep.
4 is close placement.
Excellent. Last one.
Dude placement.
Subdued, Patrick, yay. Okay, so in stage 1, what is the new experience that we have there?
You realize all the thoughts you have.
Yeah, being aware of the thoughts, exactly. And how about stage 2? What's the new experience there?
Getting a rest from your thoughts.
Yeah, yeah. And Geshe had said last time that you get the meditative experience of what it's like to take a rest. So I hadn't gotten that before last week, so that was new for me. So the third one, what's the new experience of stage 3?
You recognize when you get distracted and you can bring yourself back to it, patch it up.
That is correct, but in my notes, when I put that in the first time, that was not what Geshe said. So that is true that that's what the stage is like, but the actual new experience is something a little different. Does anybody know what that is?
Something about your thoughts being exhausted or.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like they've exhausted themselves. Yeah. And what is the new experience for stage 4? Trick question.
There
Geshe said
was
that,
none, right?
yeah, Geshe said that after stage 3, they don't list it that way. He said it's not that there aren't new experiences, but they're not listed. So, okay. So how many powers are there? Lamala's holding up 6 fingers. Yes, indeed, 6. Okay, so of the 6 powers, can anybody name them? You'll get full credit if you can name at least 4. I'm just trying to get us in the habit of hearing these over and over. That's my intention, you know, just
Power of knowledge.
repetition. Power of knowledge, excellent.
Power contemplation.
Contemplation.
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness, yay.
Introspection.
Okay, that's 4. We haven't talked about the last 2 yet. So the 5th one is joyful effort, and the last one is familiarization. So they will be coming up. Okay, so the first one again was power of knowledge. Yeah. Okay. And which stages do we experience that one?
First.
Right. Stage 1, exactly. Okay. And what's the second one after the power of knowledge?
Contemplation.
Exactly. And where do we experience that?
Stage 2.
Perfect. Right. Stage 2. And the next one is the power of
Mindfulness.
mindfulness. And where do we experience that? Stage 3 and stage 4. Exactly. Oh, yay. All right. And which is the stage where you perfect mindfulness? Yes, Mary, stage 4, exactly. Yeah. Okay. And then in stage 5, which is the power there?
Introspection.
Exactly. All right, excellent. So powers through the first 5 stages. Very well done. All right, so let's move on to mental engagements. How many are there of those?
Can I ask a question, Chikala?
Yes, ma'am.
Where does joyful effort come in?
So we'll see that. Geshe hasn't covered that yet.
So 5
Later
is,
than stage 5. I actually think it's stage 7, but
5 is where we perfect mindfulness.
4 is where we perfect mindfulness.
Okay.
And 5 and 6 are introspection, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, 5 and 6 are introspection, joyful effort is 7 and 8, and familiarization is the last stage. But Geshe hasn't covered that yet.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I just thought that if we started hearing them all together as a group, it might help us remember them. Okay, so the mental engagements are how many?
4.
4.
Exactly, there are 4. Can anybody name them?
Tight focus.
Excellent.
Interrupted focus.
Interrupted focus.
Uninterrupted focus.
Uninterrupted focus.
Effortless engagement.
Effortless engagement. Yeah, wonderful. So tight focus, interrupted focus, uninterrupted focus, and effortless engagement. All right, so which stages then does tight focus apply to?
1.
1.
First 2, because we're
Right,
still
and 2.
Getting there.
Exactly, right? And how about for interrupted focus, which stages?
3 and 4.
Yeah,
3 to 7.
right. So 3, 4, and 5 and beyond, which we haven't covered yet, but you're absolutely right, Heyman, 3 through 7. Yep. So then that means that the last two, uninterrupted is 8 and effortless engagement is 9, but we'll get to that. So wonderful. This is really great. We're flying through it. Okay, so how do we know that we've achieved stage 1?
That's the counting to 21 breaths, right?
Exactly, that's right. And how about the sign that you've achieved stage 2?
Do one mala of Omanis.
Right. And it's important to just note that, of course, we mean without distraction, right? For either of those, right? Because I know for sure it's possible to do either of those with lots of distraction. So, all right. And we already talked about this, but how do we know when you've achieved stage 3?
You have the ability to catch the mind quickly?
Right. But actually to know that you've achieved it, Geshe
Oh.
said that none was mentioned, right? This was the one where they didn't say. But yeah, absolutely, Kim, that's what happens. Is that like immediately you can jump on that. And then for stage 4, how do we know when you've achieved that?
You can stay on the object for quite a few hours, like
Right.
6 hours, something like that.
Right, exactly.
7 hours, he said at one point.
Yeah, yeah, something like 7 hours, exactly. Okay, so I just had one other thing I thought we might want to cover, which is Geshe has given us a number of possible antidotes for subtle sinking mind. So I'm wondering if people want to maybe name some of those that you can think of. When you're having subtle sinking mind, what can you do?
Think of precious human life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To cheer up,
Cheer up. Yeah.
go get a breath of air, get sunshine, that kind of stuff.
Or look
Right.
at the moon. But think about the moon. Wasn't that one?
Yep. Moonlight. Yep.
Take a walk in nature.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so of all these things, let's see, what else did we say? Wash your face. Think of bright light, sunlight. I think you all said those already. There's a progression to these. Do you remember sort of where you start? What's the sort of lowest level, you know, what you try at first?
Thinking of cheerful thoughts or thinking of the moonlight or sunlight. Is that where you start?
So Neely, it's what you said in the beginning, like thinking about precious human life,
Oh,
or, you know, thinking about how great it is you've got this opportunity to be doing this meditation, that kind of stuff. That's sort of where you begin. And then if that doesn't work, what comes next?
Is that when you think about the bright light?
Right. Bright light, moonlight, sunlight, that kind of stuff. And then if that doesn't work, what do you do next?
Take a break.
Right. Get up, wash your face, drink coffee, drink a Coke, take a break, all those. And then there was one last resort that he mentioned. Does anybody know what that one is? So that's the meditation that Lama La led us in, the Pei meditation.
Uh-huh.
The instructions for mixing your mind and energy with space. I could call it by its proper name, I suppose. So. Okay, so is there anything else that people would like to review?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we talked about the successes of different stages, and we said stage 3, they didn't mention a success. And in stage 5, did they mention a success? Because I don't have anything written down.
Yeah, I don't have that yet. I'm not sure if there is one and we haven't gotten to it yet. Has anybody else heard? I haven't heard one for stage 5.
No, Chokila, he didn't mention it.
Yeah, so we can ask him directly to see if it's like stage 3 or whether we didn't get there yet. Anything else?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, then I would just like to take a moment to rejoice because this is surely purifying and it's surely building up our stores of merit and wisdom. And we know it's fulfilling the wishes of our teacher, both through this effort that people are doing outside of class and the fact that Geshe asked us to do this evening, and we've done it. So all of these things are really wonderful in helping us to progress along the path with this goal of really being of greatest benefit to others. And I just think it's so amazing that we're all here really trying. And so we don't rejoice enough. So we really need to just say, yay, yay, yay. This is so great. I mean, how many people in the world are working on this right now? There just aren't a lot of people doing that. And we are. So that's wonderful. So I would also like to rejoice that our dear Lamala leads us in these prayers every time we get together. And we are so fortunate to have that blessing. And so I'm going to request her to do it one more time.
Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised to the best by the victorious ones as gone of the 3 times, so I might perform good works. I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of perfect pure Losangdapa to shine forever. And now the long life prayers. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. One who mastered speech at a very young age. The one with great patience received the name Avatare. The one with great precision who spread the teachings of Lamun Tsokapa, listen void. Lama ornament for the yellow hat tradition, please remain until samsara ends. You uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplished magnificent prayers honoring the 3 jewels, savior of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. Om Taritu Taritu Re Soha, 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 Om Taritu Taritu Re Soha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Lama.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.